Hello Stampers, welcome to my channel and to today's video. Thank you for joining me. I'm Michelle Zindorf, and today I just wanted to play around with some little pine tree islands, and I thought I would do one in the distance, one closer up. So if you use different colors, then you can get that depth in your scene. So we're going to do that, and I'm going to start with a basic white panel that's 3.5 by 4.5, and I'll have all the dimensions for this card down below this video. Just click more under the description. You'll see all the sizes there, along with all of the links for the products that I used today. I'm using a wonderful stamp set. This is the Scenic Adventure stamp set. Fun stamp set to use. Has multiple sizes of trees, which are always nice for when you're making little scenes. So I especially like this one. It has water, it has clouds, has flowers, and some wonderful sentiments. So here we go. We're going to start with our main panel, 3.5 by 4.5, basic white. And I'm going to take, I want this scene to kind of glow. So I'm going to take some Daffodil Delight, and I'm just going to put this all over my card stock here. Now I didn't start with Daffodil Delight cardstock because the ink, I wanted my inks to kind of blend together. And that works a lot better when you start with this wonderful basic white cardstock. Because now I have some ink on there, and then any future inks I put on will kind of blend with it. Here we go. So that was Daffodil Delight. And now we're going to start putting in our island that's furthest away. And I'm going to use lighter colors than I do the island that's in front, because things that are in the distance are lighter in color and probably cooler in color too. So I'm going to start with some balmy blue trees here, and I need a little mask, and I'm just going to use a 3 by 5 post-it note, and I'm going to come down about 1.5 inches, a little less than 1.5 inches. And if you line your post-it note up with the side of your panel, you're better to get that nice straight horizon line. We don't want our islands to be going downhill or uphill. So I got that on there. And then when I stamp my trees, I can stamp them different heights and don't have to worry about it so much. And I'm going to be using 2 trees from that stamp set. I'm going to be using the small tree and the largest tree. And I'm using balmy blue here. I'm going to start with this large tree. I'm just going to add some of these on, and I can make these any height now that I have this mask on here. And I'm going to take a tree almost up to the top here, and then add, just a couple more. I don't want this island to be too wide, because I want to put another one in here. So I have to kind of think about that. So I'm going to add some of these small trees, like in between. Oh, that got a really small. And this tree's kind of shaped a little different. There we go. I kind of like that. So let's leave that. All right. So that was balmy blue. Now I'm going to bring in some Lost Lagoon. And I'm going to kind of blend this over my balmy blue trees a little bit. And this is going to make it look like there's multiple trees on beyond the these ones that I stamped. Kind of makes things look a little fuller. Blends these out so they're kind of, they're in the distance. They're not going to be as sharp in focus because they're further out. All right, that was Lost Lagoon. All I'm going to bring in some Mossy Meadow here. And I want the Mossy Meadow to be like the ground area these trees are coming out of. So I'm just going to kind of go back and forth along this Post-it note edge. And I'm going to come out just a little bit beyond those trees, just so it looks like it has a bit of a beach. So see where I've come out a little further than the trees are. And that is our little ground area for our trees. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to mask this upside down now. And I'm going to leave about 1/16 of an inch of that island there showing. Got a little bit of color there. That way I can tell where my trees go. I'm just going to fill this up with some trees. And I'm going to use that Balmy Blue again. So we're going back to that. Start with my little tall tree here. Now we have to stamp these upside down. And I don't worry about everything being so perfect with this. I'm stamping lightly. So some of my trees, I mean, they're not going to fill in, but this is our reflection side. So we don't want them perfect, because when you see a reflection in the water, it's not a perfect image normally of what you have above. So I'm just adding some of those trees. Just add a few of these small ones. Again, this is Balmy Blue. Remember, I don't want to come all the way out there because we left that little bit of room there. Okay, and so now let's bring back that Lost Lagoon. So we're really kind of doing what we did at the top, just upside down and a little lighter. This is so fun to play with. Okay, so I'm just going to do a circular motion here on top of these little trees here. And I'm going to bring this color clear down, because this is our water now. Bring it clear down and off the corner of this cardstock, because I want some light effect to come, like coming and streaming through here. There we go. And now we need, I'm going to turn this right side up here, or upside down, I should say. And I need to add my little ground area here. So I'm going to go back to the Mossy Meadow. And grab my little blending brushes. These little small blending brushes are wonderful for this little detail stuff. Now this is lighter, much lighter than the top. So I'm just adding a little color there in the water. So you have to just remember that that's our water, and that's the reflection in the water. See how that turned out? So you see that hint of those trees in the water, and they're not as bright as what these are up here. That's what you want. So there's one of our little islands in, and that's our furthest island away. Now all these are going to turn out differently. I never have two that turn out the same, just because I stamped the trees a little different. A little more pressure, a little less pressure. Okay, so I'm going to bring my Post-it note down some here. Kind of make sure I've got it fairly straight on my paper. There we go. Now these trees in this little island, everything's going to be a little darker than this area up here. So I'm going to start by stamping my trees with Mossy Meadow. So I think I want some of the taller trees. So I'm going to start with the tall tree first. And I can put quite a bit of these trees in here and make them larger. So I can go almost clear up to the top of the paper with this tree. And we'll just make... There we go. I'm going to do these different sizes. Do a large one here. And I'm going to bring in that small tree. I love having these different size trees to work with. There's even a medium one, but I wanted my trees to be kind of more slender than this one. This would be great for a little Christmas tree, that medium-sized one. So I'm just going to add some little trees here. Oh, that was really little. Let's bring that up. If you find it's too little, just overstamp it. Nobody will be the wiser for it. There we go. I'm going to add one over there. I kind of like that. All right, so with this one, I'm going to blend just a little bit of this Mossy Meadow over my trees. Now I'm going to kind of knock some of that color off my brush before I start doing this. I don't want it to kind of really obliviate those trees. I just want it to look like there's more trees in the background and kind of blur them out just a little bit. I don't want to obliviate them. If you use that full strength color, it'll get just way too dark there. So I kind of like that. There we go. And then I'm going to bring in some pecan pie for our ground area. Grab a blending brush. I'll do that same back and forth motion here along that post-it note edge to bring in our ground area. These trees are taller and closer, so you can bring this color up a little bit more than what you did over there. A little more ground area there. So fun. All right, so now we have our real trees here. Now we need to do our reflection side. So I have that done in our ground area. Now we're going to turn this around. I'm going to cover up all but like a 1/16 of an inch of that little island there. There we go. I can see where things are. And we're just going to do our trees again. But this time I'm going to stamp these trees in this Lost Lagoon because these are going to be in our water. This is our water reflection. I don't want those trees to be so dark. So we're just going to stamp this off on our paper a little bit, clean it. And these trees need to be stamped upside down. So I'm going to kind of peek under here, kind of get a feel for where our trees are. We'll stamp there. And again, we don't have to worry about them being right where the other ones are. I don't worry about that. Let's bring some of these small ones in. You're stamping kind of lighter on this side, right? Let's do one like right there. Okay, so my trees aren't like all the way showing. There's some gaps in them because I stamped them light. So we're going to put this back on. And now we need some of that I want some of this Lost Lagoon on it. So I'm going to grab my blending brush here. Add that Lost Lagoon here on this side too. I'm bringing that Lost Lagoon out here, and I'm just kind of leaving a little bit of a pathway for that light to come in. Now this is our water, so we're going to go all the way down to the bottom of the cardstock here. You can get pretty dark over those trees. Remember, this is a reflection, so we just want a bit of them to show. Okay, I like that. Now we need to put in just a hint of that ground color. So when I do this, I like to turn this way. It's easier to work that way. And we'll just pick up some of this pecan pie here. Remember, this is the reflection side, so we just want a hint of this down here. All right. And maybe let's add just a hint of that Mossy Meadow in the water. So I just want this real light, so I'm going to bring some of that off on my paper. And just a little of that Mossy Meadow on top of those trees. Okay, pretty. There is our 2 islands, and see how that one looks like it's so much further back? So fun. All right. Now, if you want to just line your trees up perfectly and you want them more noticeable in the water, you can always use just a piece of clear window sheet as your mask and just hold it on as you're stamping things, and that way you can see perfectly where things are. I don't worry too much about it. This is my reflection side, and I try to do things much lighter. So there we have that. Now I want a little sparkle in our water, and I'm just going to bring in, you can use a white gel pen for this. I know a lot of you liked your white gel pens. But I got tired of replacing mine when they dry up, so I just went to watercolor. So this is Dr. P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White, and I just pick it up at Amazon. Now this is watercolor here. I'm just going to shake it up. Now this lasts forever. You have this jar forever and ever. Then I have a tiny little paintbrush here. This is a size 0. And my cat's got this all frayed out here. Every chance she gets, she grabs this paintbrush off my desk and runs off with it. So I find it all over the house. I'm just going to dip this in my watercolor. And I'm just going to kind of wipe it off on the edge there. And I'm going to add just little marks here in the water. They don't have to be anything special. You just want to try to keep them parallel here with your little islands and such. So I just put 3 little marks there. We're going to come down here and we're going to do that same thing. It's okay if they get a little thick. It's all right. We're just going to add some in our water. You can even bring them out in that yellow area. And I think I just want one coming off the paper here. I always think that looks a little more normal when you have something coming into the scene. So there's a little sparkle in our water. And that really conveys to people that, yeah, that's water. So with your paintbrush, all you have to do is rinse it out with water. It's watercolor. So we'll do that. And voila, there is our scene all done. So now I'm just going to set this aside just for a second. I'm going to bring out my basic white panel for the inside of my card. This is what I'm going to stamp my sentiment on. And this is 4 by 5 1/4. And I really wanted to just stamp this beautiful stamp here. It says, "You're amazing." Now, who doesn't want to get a card that says they're amazing on it? So I'm going to stamp this. I think I'm going to go ahead and use the Lost Lagoon to stamp this. I'm going to stamp this before I put this panel on my card. That way, if I mess this up, stamp it crooked, I can flip it over and have another shot at it. So stamp before you stick. Okay, so Lost Lagoon here. And I'm just going to stamp this on. I'm just going to give this a good press. And there is our sentiment for the inside of the card. I like how that came out, so we're just going to use that. Now I have a Mossy Meadow card base, and it's 5.5 by 8.5, and I folded it in half to create my quarter card. I'm just going to add this to the inside, and I'm using a multi-purpose liquid glue here. I'm just going to add some love inside. Then we're going to just stick it on the inside of the card. I like to add panels to the inside of my card so that my card weighs about the same on the inside as it does the outside. So no floppy like back panels. It's substantial when you have a panel in there. So there we have that. Now for the front of my card, I'm going to add just a piece of designer series paper. And this is comes out of the Need for Tweed paper pack. What fun papers are in that. Look at that backside. All these tweed patterns. I can show you here. I've used this quite a bit, so mine's are pretty chopped up. But lots of tweed patterns. And then they're double-sided, so each one has a different little tweed pattern in it. And they're a lot of fun to use. And I like them because they have a lot of neutral colors in there. I tend to use a lot of neutrals. So I'm going to add this panel to the front of my card. This is 4 by 5 1/4. I may have just run out of glue. Just about. Let's see if I can get through this card with that glue bottle. Don't you like to use just every last drop of your supplies? There's our designer series paper on here. Now I'm going to take our main panel here. This should be dry. Yep, it's watercolor, so it dries really quick on there. So I'm going to use a panel here and put a little weenie layer on this card. I call this a weenie layer, this Mossy Meadow panel. It's 3 5/8 by 4 5/8. So it's just 1/8 of an inch larger than our main panel. So I call it a weenie layer, but it gives you just enough to really bring your eye into that scene by having that really dark edge there. You could also just take your dark color that you're using, maybe that's a Mossy Meadow, and go around the edge of your actual cardstock. I just put that on upside down, but that's okay. We didn't stick it on the card upside down. Boy, I did that before. How about you? So I'm just going to add this to the card front. When I come over here, I'm just going to try to leave equal distance from the top to the card side, bottom. There we go. And now I have just a couple things I wanted to put on here, just for, you know, have some doodads on the front. I imagine a man getting this card, so I didn't want to put a lot of bows and a lot of frou-frou on there. So I cut a square here. This is Mossy Meadow, and this is 1 1/4 inch square. I'm just going to take a pair of scissors. And you can use your paper cutter for this too, but I'm just going to cut diagonally from one corner to the other. And there we have a couple triangles. And I'm going to add these triangles to my card. And I'm going to start here at the bottom corner. I'm coming all the way out till I'm flush with the outside of the card. There's one. Then I'm going to put this triangle at the top, and it's going to come out to the corner of the top of the card. So there is a couple triangles. And then I have some crumb cake pieces. These are 1/2 inch little squares that I cut. I just cut a little strip of 1/2 inch crumb cake, and then I cut that strip into 1/2 inch squares. And I kind of like using cardstock as my little element pieces because, for one, they're cost effective because you can use your scraps, and plus they lay so flat that you don't have to worry about putting extra postage on your cards, which is always a plus these days. Now, I'm all about bling. I do love my bling, but I kind of like doing this every now and then too. See, that was just enough. I think that turned out really pretty like that. So there is our card. See if I tilt it this way, you can see that yellow more. See how that just kind of glows? So there is our card all finished. Have it all done on the inside. It's just ready to tell somebody they're amazing. Thanks for joining me today. I think you're amazing too. Thanks for following me, and I will see you in the next one. Toodles.